Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I will be going over, for those of you who are just joining, how to become a elementary school teacher, middle school teacher, high school teacher, what those steps kind of look like and what that process looks like for us here at Fresno State. My name is Maribel and I am an academic advisor with the Enseñamos en el Valle Central initiative. It is a program that supports and serves future Latinx and bilingual teachers and bringing back those teachers here in the Central Valley. We work with students across K through 12, community colleges, our partner colleges, Wheatley and Fresno City College, and supporting those students as they transfer over to us at Fresno State and into the Credential program. So this is our agenda for today. I'll be going over what is the definition of a teacher, what that definition means to us, kind of what to expect as you consider being a teacher. I'll be going over what to do if you're a high school student, if you're getting your bachelor's degree, the Credential program, testing. I'll be going over what the preliminary credential is. I'll also be going over the first year teacher induction program. If you've never heard of that before, I will be mentioning that today, as well as what happens after you get your preliminary credential and how to renew that credential. So in the chat to you, what does it mean to be a teacher? What is a teacher? So I'd like to hear from all of you. So if you can, just type that in the chat, your definition, your thoughts in your heart. What is a teacher? Okay, we have one comment, a second parent. Any other comments? A teacher is a person who educates selflessly. That is beautiful. A teacher is a leader that guides and provides a safe space for all. Absolutely true. Anyone else would like to add? What is a teacher to you? Okay, so thank you for those that shared what it means to be a teacher. The standard definition would be someone who teaches or instructs, but we all know that can be much more than that. A teacher can teach beyond outside of the walls of a classroom, a physical classroom. They can be mentors, they can be guides, educators. They represent growth, they represent love. They represent so many different things, more than just the educational aspect of teaching. And that can be very important to our students, especially students that may be having transitions in their lives, students, that go through different phases of their educational journey. So teachers in our classroom, we've all had our experience with them. And for me personally, speaking for myself, the type of teachers that I've had have definitely impacted who I have become and how I have progressed in my educational journey. And because of that, I place great value in the teaching profession and in our educators. So that's something to keep in mind when you think about what kind of teacher you want to be and what kind of teacher you want to be for your students. If you're considering the teaching profession, one thing that we would suggest would be to expose yourself to the profession. So whether it's volunteering in a classroom, working in the classroom, in a school district, getting to know teachers. Do not be shy to ask them questions about what they like or they don't like about their job, that's called. And an informational interview. So basically interviewing that that teacher, that educator, what they like about their job, what aspects do they enjoy, what do they not enjoy. So that using the ability to explore and connect with current teachers or certain teachers that teach grade levels that you're interested in is very essential in figuring out if that's what you want to do. And also by exposing yourself in that environment, volunteering in that environment or working in that environment will definitely not only even maybe perhaps open up the doors for making networking connections among teachers in school districts, but also being in that environment to understand and see how the environment is, what the job duties entail, what teachers actually do, and that will really help you decide if the teaching profession is something that you would like to pursue. So if you're a high school student with us today, or if you know any high school students that are interested in becoming teachers and want to expose themselves, in an educational setting, which they already in, and they can use that to their advantage, but if they want to do it more intentionally, we would say if they can take classes related to education, if there's any teacher clubs, any teacher pathways, academies, that will be very helpful in exposing themselves in the educational field in a different way besides being a student. Being a teacher's aide is also very helpful in seeing what the assignments or duties of a teacher are, and preparing for the educational pathway, either taking A through G courses to apply to a university or enrolling in taking the appropriate classes to graduate and apply to a community college so that they can also obtain their high school diploma or a GED. I think I skipped over it. To be an elementary school teacher, you would be teaching grades K through 6th grade. So you would select what grade level you would like to teach in that range. You would be teaching all different types of subjects, so math, reading, writing, social sciences, all the different subjects, that you need to teach in that curriculum. You would need a multiple subject credential, meaning, you are teaching multiple subjects within that grade level. And the exams that you would need you would have to pass the basic skills requirement, and that can be done through the CBEST or now through coursework. The CSETs or now through also approved coursework and the related subject matter, and the RECA exam. And I'll be going over those a little more in detail in the presentation. To be a junior high or high school teacher, you would teach 7th or 8th grade, sometimes even 6th grade if you want to be a middle school or junior high teacher. And to be a high school teacher, you would be teaching 9th grade through 12th grade. You only teach one subject. You would need a single subject credential, and the exams needed for being a single subject credential teacher would be, again, the CBEST or the basic skills requirement fulfilled, the CSETs or approved coursework, and that related subject matter. So if you want to be a math teacher, you would have to major in math. If you want to be an English teacher, same, it would be better to English and math, so you're more skilled in that subject matter. So once you graduate high school and you go to college or university, you attend a four-year university or transfer to a four-year university after community college. If you want to be an elementary school teacher, you would major in liberal studies, elementary teacher education or related field. It's not a requirement, but it is very helpful because those programs do prepare you to be a teacher. If you were to major in something else, then you still could apply to a multiple subject program, credential program, but you would have to most likely take the CSET exam or fulfill the subject matter competency requirement in a different way, depending on what that university is asking for. If you want to be a junior high or high school teacher, you want to major in the subject you would like to teach. So again, if you want to be an English teacher, major in English. If you want to be a Spanish teacher, major in Spanish. It would be best to work in a school or classroom setting to get experience. Our credential program does require pre-programmed field experience, so they want you to already come in with some amount of hours of experience in a classroom, either volunteering, observing, or working. You would need to complete the basic skills and the subject matter requirements. So again, that could be done through the CBES, the CSET, or through coursework, which is something that is new this year. You can take certain classes to fulfill those requirements, and it is up to each university what courses count. So if you're at a community college, I believe most community colleges are starting to prepare to figure out what classes at those colleges can count for the basic skills. And same thing for the universities. That's something that we are doing here at Fresno State as well. You would need to graduate with a bachelor's degree and apply to a credential program. And this is essentially a visual of the same thing that I mentioned of how to pursue each profession and what would be required. So for the credential program, most requirements to apply, again, are the basic skills requirement, the CSET or the subject matter competency requirement, a bachelor's degree, already have some sort of experience in a classroom. Most of them do have some prerequisite classes. They usually do a background check, an interview. Our program requires a certificate of clearance here from California. Mandated reporter training, letters of recommendation, and a tuberculosis test, otherwise known as a TB test. In the program, what you can expect is to do some student teaching. Definitely, you still take classes, and in those classes, you still will have projects. You will also be evaluated during your student teaching in the program. Once you complete the program, you'll be applying for a preliminary credential. And here in our program, we have, in all programs, you have to complete the RECA exam, which is a reading and writing comprehensive exam. And elementary school teachers, multiple subject credentials need to complete this exam. This is an overview of the Fresno State Credential Programs and Pathways. So kind of just to give you an idea what we offer here in Fresno. So at Fresno State, we offer the multiple subject program, which is 2 to 3 semesters. This gives you the authorization to teach kindergarten through 6th grade. The single subject program, which is about 2 semesters, and you can teach middle school or high school. The dual credential program, which is 4 semesters, but you earn a multiple subject and an education specialist credential. And the education specialist credential is 3 semesters. This is for individuals who want to teach children, youth, and adults with disabilities at any grade level from kindergarten until the age of 22. We also have different pathways for students to fulfill student teaching and their clinical practice. We have the evening cohort program. So in addition to taking classes, you would be taking those in the evening. And then during the day, you're placed at a school district site where you do your student teaching or observation. We have teacher residencies. The difference between the evening cohort program and the teacher residencies is that the residencies, you actually work at a specific school district. So you complete your hours there, and then you'd actually take the credential classes at the local school district. So either in the school or the school district office. The evening cohort program is a little more flexible. The teacher residency is more of a commitment. Some of the residencies do offer a 2 to 3 year commitment after you're done with the credential program. So this one is a really good option if you want to get your foot in the door or work in a particular school district. Some of the teacher residencies do have some benefits to them, either financial stipends, educational technology tools, or priority hire. And here at Fresno State, we offer residencies in Madera, Sanger, Fresno, and Clovis, and we do have a rural program where you can work in the rural communities such as Kerman, Mendota, Fireball. We also offer the teacher internship program. In this program, you can work as a contracted teacher while earning your credentials. So you would have an internship credential. That's how you're working as a contracted teacher and actually getting paid at the same time earning your own credential. There's also another program called Cal State Teach. This is not through Fresno State, but we do house them in the Kremen School building. It's an independent state program pathway, all online. You work as an intern, and this is for individuals who want to earn their multiple subject credential. So some of the exams, again, to expect before the credential program, if you want to fulfill the basic skills requirement, you can do the CBEST, or you can use coursework. And here at Fresno State, we have our own specific coursework and our own audit form that we are using to
Okay, I'm gonna send you something, but don't.
Okay, of course.
No le hagas caso.
to help with that. Sorry, I'm trying to go ahead and share those links so that you guys can see those. And I will put these in the chat. So the coursework is what we have approved here at Fresno State for our students. And the form is what the students can also use for if they have taken classes already. So some students have college classes and they want to apply to the credential program and they haven't gotten the CBEST yet. This is an option that they can do. However, please keep in mind that the best way to be accepted into a credential program is to already have the basic skills requirement fulfilled. The other requirement, again, is the subject matter competency requirement. It can be fulfilled through coursework or waived if the student graduated from an approved program. So here at Fresno State, if you graduate from the liberal studies major, students have the CSET waived. And that is an option in some or most accredited universities here in California. If students do not have the option available to them, if they cannot waive the subject matter competency requirement through coursework, then they can take the CSET exam. During the credential programs, our multiple subject credential students or K through 6 teachers do have to take the reading instruction competence assessment. It's a reading and writing exam that is required for our elementary school teachers called the RECA. But there are 2 classes in our credential program that prepare you for this exam. And as soon as you are done with those classes, then you can take the exam, which you can take as many time needed in order to fulfill it. Something to also keep in mind in our credential program is we have our teaching performance assessments where students are assessed during their student teaching. So once you go through the credential program, you're done, you pass all the classes, exams, you're ready to apply for your preliminary credential. So what is a preliminary credential? It is your authorization to teach. This is your very first credential ever as a new teacher. This is the first one that you get as a brand new teacher. So in order to obtain it, you do have to pass all the courses, the exams, CPR training. Here at Fresno State, you submit the paperwork for the preliminary credential through the credential program. And it gets submitted to the California Teacher Credentialing. Here, our fees are $102, but once you get that credential, it is valid for 5 years. After 5 years, then you apply for your clear credential, which is the next step up. Eventually, you've been cleared through the teacher induction program. You have all the tools to officially, be a clear credentialed teacher. first year teacher induction. What is that? It is a program that provides new teachers the tools, the assistance, the guidance, the support their first 2 years of teaching and meet the performance standards for that school district and their classroom. This is usually offered through the school district that you're hired with. So once you look for a job, you're working, all teachers will go through their induction program. After the teacher induction program, then you qualify to be promoted to that clear credential. And once it's time to renew your credential, you go from the preliminary to the clear. You have to do the teacher induction program, and this is issued through the program sponsor, which is usually the district that you work for. And again, this is valid also for 5 years. Okay. One thing before I go on to the job outlook portion is here at Fresno State, we also do offer the bilingual authorization program. If you want to be a bilingual teacher, California has over 1 million English learners just in California public schools alone. So it is a high growing need of a student population that needs teachers who are culturally skilled and linguistically skilled to serve and support those students. Here at Fresno State, we offer it in Spanish and Hmong, and the Hmong is just 5 additional classes that you have to take either during undergrad or the credential program. And for the Spanish authorization, it's just 3 classes that you can take either during undergrad or the credential program. And after that, when you apply for your preliminary credential here at Fresno State, you also at the same time apply for the bilingual authorization that gets added to your preliminary credential, and you just renew it. It gets renewed every time you renew your credential. It is very beneficial in the sense that, again, one, you have additional skills to support the students here in the Central Valley who are mostly, Hispanic in most of our schools, but also, and we have such a diverse group of students here in the Central Valley that not only are you multiculturally competent to serve all our diverse group of students, but you are also more marketable. You have more doors available to you. And some of these schools do offer either financial stipends, for having that authorization, and you also have the ability to kind of move wherever you want here in California. So that is something to consider as well if you want to work in a dual immersion classroom or a bilingual classroom. And California needs more teachers, but the Central Valley definitely needs more teachers. This is just a summary of what I found on the internet. No, it's the Occupational Outlook website. So kind of what the median pay is for teachers, either elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers. In 2020, the typical entry-level education, which is a bachelor's degree, no work experience in a related occupation needed or on-the-job training. The number of jobs in 2019, this will grow by 4% in the next 2 years. This does vary by school district, by region, by state. This is for here in California. And in the Central Valley, we need definitely more than 4%. Again, the employment of teachers is projected to grow 4% from 2019 to 2029. So in the next 10 years, and again, the rising student enrollment should also increase the demand for high school teachers, again, middle school teachers, elementary school teachers, and that all varies by region. So where do you look for jobs? What do you do once you're in the credential program? When you're about to be done, you're looking for a teaching job. Most internships, residencies already have the potential to offer you employment, especially if you're already working in that school district. So that's the big benefit of internships and residencies, especially if they have that commitment to hire in their program. You can also check out your local school district, see what who they're hiring for, what they're hiring for. A lot of them do have teacher hiring fairs. You can also go to edjoin.org. That is like the biggest teacher application website where you can look for teaching positions here in the Central Valley or outside of the Central Valley or in different states. Fresno State also has job postings for teachers, and we also have two teacher recruitment fairs. So not only can school districts have their own teacher hiring fairs, but here at Fresno State, we do have some as well. This is an example of one that we had back in 2019. So we do have a teacher recruitment fair where we work together with the Career Center and Fresno State. And the school districts actually come to us. And this last year it was online. So the districts went online, the candidates went online, but this year we will actually be having one in person. More information to come on that. So if you are interested, please send us an email. We can send you that info. I don't have a flyer as of yet. But this will show you here that Fresno State does host one. So again, the school districts come to Fresno State. Students or candidates just show up, bring a resume, dress like as you're going in on an interview, because essentially you do. You get there and they do have interviews on the spot, and you could be hired on the spot for a teaching position. And we have various school districts along the Central Valley that do come to these teacher hiring fairs. And again, this is just an example here with Fresno. They're projected to hire about 250 teachers just next year alone. And the annual salary in the Central Valley is $50,000 with benefits. And you only have to work a certain amount of school days in the year. That varies by the district and by the school. But I have reached the end of my presentation. We did get through that a little fast, but I do invite you all to ask any questions. Please feel free to add those in the chat or unmute. I will do my very best to answer those, or direct you to who you can get the answer to if I don't know it. But please let me know. Again, feel free to unmute or add those to the chat. Any questions? Thank you, Emma. Yeah, this is the opportunity to ask questions. So if you're unsure about anything that I said, or you want me to revisit anything in the presentations, I can go back. We can explain something in more detail, especially if there's something that is new to you or you want more information about. Okay, thank you, ladies. So yes, I can go back to the average local teacher position salaries. So let me, this one. And I can share my info. I'm also put my personal email in the chat if something does come up later. One thing I did want to mention is Fresno State does have admission for the credential program, both in the spring and in the fall. Let me see. Oh, maybe this one is the one you're looking for. Okay. If you're interested in kind of starting to volunteer time in an educational environment, working in a classroom, I would say the sooner the better. if I'm being honest, if you kind of maybe wait till the last minute to apply to the credential program or your senior year and you start volunteering or working in the classroom and you find out that it wasn't really for you, I would be sad that maybe all that time could have been directed for something that you wanted to do. But I would say, yeah, the sooner the better. So either in community college, if you want to volunteer a semester or a year in a classroom or work for a classroom, some positions that you can consider like, or you could be a tutor. So working, for example, like for teaching fellows, they're always hiring tutors and after school or for after school programs and working with students. So they have morning programs where you can work in the morning in a classroom with the teacher. And they also have after school programs where you help students with homework, activities, different things, you know, to help them, support them after the school teaching hours. You can be an instructional aide. You could work for, there's different types of programs that support students at many different levels. So most of them, you know, can be tutoring, instructional aids. There's programs such as California Reading Corps, where you support students in like reading and reaching a certain literacy level. I'm trying to think of a few others. There's programs that help students be A through G ready. For example, I'm trying to think. Some of the colleges, so here it's at Fresno State, for example, if you're a Fresno State student, we have undergraduate student recruitment, where you work with high school students and get them A through G ready so that they can apply and matriculate more seamlessly to Fresno State. I know they have the same thing similar at UC Merced or Fresno State Talent Search, Upward Bound. Those types of positions would not only get you involved in working directly with students and in a classroom, but also kind of exposing yourself to that environment and seeing what are the requirements for students to graduate, what classes they need, things that a teacher would need to be exposed and know. Another thing that I could go over really quick as well, if you are applying to the credential program soon or thinking about it, if you're a Fresno State student, and even if you're not, this is the coursework that Fresno State has approved for our campus. And this is what the audit form would look like for those that want to do the basic skills requirement audit form. You would just have to fill out this first section and attach a copy of your unofficial transcripts or your degree progress report and test scores, which can be your AP scores, your ACT or SAT scores, and submit this form to this email. This is if you're applying to the Fresno State Credential Program. You would submit this form and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to receive a response. If you have all your classes approved in the sections of reading, writing, or math, then you would receive a verification, and that is the verification that you include in your credential program application. If one or more than one classes do not get approved, then they will respond to you with options as to what you can do to fulfill that area, either by taking just a certain portion of the CBEST or the entire CBEST, or what classes you could take. This is a form that you can find on the Fresno State credential program application. So if you go to Fresno State Credential Program, you go to apply, it'll be on that first basic skills tab under the BSR audit request form. And as for the pre-program field experience, I do see some questions in that as well. The pre-program field experience information can be found here. So at Fresno State, you can take EHD 50. At the community colleges, you can take Education 30, 19, and that can count. Or completed an equivalent course. So if you took a class at a different university, those could count. And you do have to fill out a verification. And if you were unable to complete it due to COVID-19, you would fill out that special circumstance. But basically, this is what you fill out. So if you're doing the Credential program, they want 45 hours of field experience and from an accredited K through 12 public school classroom or classroom-like setting prior to admission to the Credential program, and a minimum of 30 hours must occur in the grade level or subject area appropriate to the desired credential. So if you want to work and be an elementary school teacher and you're applying to the multiple subject credential program, then you would need to have at least 30 hours in that in K through 6. If you want to do junior high or high school, at least 30 hours in 8th or 9th or 7th and 8th or 9th or 12th. And you would just fill out this form, and it does have to be filled out by the teacher or supervisor you are working with. So I hope that answers that question of how you can show proof. So again, you can log stuff on your resume. Thank you, Hema. But ultimately, someone does have to sign and fill out this form for you. Any other questions? And again, all this is found on the the Kremen School of Education website. So I will put this in the chat. They also do have, yes, you do have to work in a classroom according to the form. So they want you to be either in an after school program or something related in an experience from K through 12 public schools, a classroom or classroom-like setting. So if you're working in a program where you maybe are an after school program, that's still a classroom-like setting. If you have any info or any questions or kind of want to get a head start on thinking about what to expect to apply to the Fresno State Credential program, they do have these information sessions that are already pre-recorded, and they literally go through all the tabs that I just showed you in detail. But if you want more specific information, or you want more, or if you have specific questions that are not answered in the informational sessions here, they do have walk-ins every Wednesday from 9 to 11 or 1 to 3. You just click on the link, it'll open the Zoom link. You'll be placed in a waiting room, and then once the first available advisor is open, then they will go ahead and attend you and support you with your question. Any other questions? It's okay, con confianza, don't be shy. Okay, so for the special circumstance form, I'm not being able to complete a field experience due to COVID-19. So your internship got canceled. The form is located down here. So it would be the special circumstance request form. They do specifically say to not submit this form if you have met the basic skills or subject matter competency requirements with approved coursework or degrees. I think this is only submitted if you need to take the CBEST or CSETs and were unable to due to COVID-19. Let me see if they have anything for the internship. Okay, so this is just for the CBEST and the CSET. The special consideration request form would be for only if you have your GPA too low, you want to change your credential pathway, repeat a course, return to the credential program, or change your cohort. So I believe they really want you to have that pre-program field experience fulfilled before you apply to the credential program in some way. Yeah, no problem. And again, all these items are addressed in the information sessions that are located here. And yes, so to complete the pre-program field experience, either completing EHD 50 or have in-field experience. So you don't have to do the class and then go ahead and go volunteer your time somewhere else. Usually what happens in the class is you do have to complete some sort of observation or volunteering hours in those classes anyway. But if you, let's say, had worked as a tutor at some point in time, you could potentially count those hours. And yes, if you guys, if something comes up later, if you have any questions, you guys can email me, or you can also, if you'd like to attend a walk-in session, you can visit this page here for the Liberal Studies Department. Something that should be happening your senior year of your program, if you're a liberal studies major, is you should have a senior advising session with your counselor, and they will also be going over these items with you and prepare you to apply for the credential program. But you can also email me as well.